A long time ago, Martin Luther King Jr. had this to say about the use of the filibuster.
Have a Congress with a Senate that has a minority of misguided senators who will use the filibuster to keep the majority of people from even voting. They won't let the majority of senators vote. And certainly they wouldn't want the majority of people to vote because they know they do not represent the majority of the American people. In fact, they represent in their own states a very small minority.
Okay, so I think, Francesca, that is not only a great bit of history, but it is amazing how little actually changes over the course of a half century plus.
I can't watch that.
Why?
That is so devastating to hear. Obviously, MLK Jr., whose legacy I think, who if we're alive today, we'd all be like, yeah, see, we've made a lot of progress, and we haven't. And that's really hard to watch because he said that with such clarity, and it's exactly what we've been saying for a long time now. And hey, the more things change, the more they stay the same. But once again, the Senate and the Electoral College are the most anti-democratic bodies and entities in this democracy. We can't even call it a democracy anymore. Mm-hmm. It's over. It's done. They're not a democracy, but yeah, wow. Hey, I feel bad. I feel bad that we haven't made more progress on it, but I guess the moral arc of history does bend towards justice, Dr. King, and I hope we can bend it, my God.
Yeah, I guess if it does bend, it bends oh so slowly. Yeah, no, and he's totally right. And it's obvious, look, like, obviously, a case can be made for the filibuster in some cases, but generally, how has it been used? How will it be used? And fundamentally, like, here is one of the core questions that needs to be asked about American politics. Does the majority of the people support the Republican position on virtually any topic? No, I'm sure you can find some positions, probably some positions that regretfully the American people side with the Republicans on. But on questions where, in theory, policy could address massive sections of the economy, healthcare, education, the climate, all of that. No, they just don't. I know that, you know that, and more fundamentally, the Republican Party and its politicians know that. They know that their agenda is not popular. Their agenda, insofar as they even have an agenda, and for the most part, they don't. It is maintaining the status quo, stopping taxes from ever going up, and stopping money from being spent in a way that will favor the working class. And so, if you have a position, our political position, what I would call now, where they don't have the support of the people on virtually anything, and it is inconceivable that they will ever not have the power to determine if and when anything ever happens, how is that sustainable, honestly? How? And by the way, I know that, like, so right now people are pointing out, okay, you Democrats are now saying the filibuster needs to go. Under Trump, you liked the filibuster, and Trump wanted to get rid of the filibuster before, but now he's in favor of keeping it. So aren't you all being inconsistent? No, I really don't think that we are. Yes, those positions have flipped, but that is such a substance-free view of the positions. The Democrats under Trump had the limited ability via the filibuster to stop the worst excesses of a man who could not garner the support of the majority of the American people. He couldn't. And the Senate that was doing his bidding couldn't support the majority, couldn't garner the support of the majority of people. They were pushing things that were highly unpopular. Now, finally, after multiple electoral wins by the Democrats, they still don't get to actually do anything. The side that is not supported by the American people still has the ability to say no to virtually everything. So a position on the filibuster, absent any consideration of what it's being used for or against, sure, it might seem inconsistent. But if you actually care about democracy from the point of view of whether it's serving the American people, it is a necessity that you change your position on the filibuster based on all of the other insane inequities and systemic issues with our government. So just
and
it's
arguably,
complicated, but that's my position.
No, it's complicated, but arguably you could also make the argument that the filibuster should exist only when Democrats are in the minority in the Senate. Why? Because I just said Democrats represent 40 million more people, and sure, maybe if they have the minority, they might represent 30 million more people, but actually they represent more people in the states that they represent. So arguably, they're never necessarily in the minority, and so you should have the filibuster when they are in the minority, right? So that they can balance out the power. But when they're in the majority, then the filibuster doesn't make any sense. You're just giving a smaller minority way more outsized power. Republicans already have far outsized power. They already have minority rule just by virtue of the fact that they represent fewer people in the Senate. Does that make sense?
I like it.
Does that make sense?
Joe
John?
Manchin's head would explode if he said that, but yeah, it kind of makes. I mean, look, if you're gonna have two systems where you have the popular vote and the electoral college, but only the electoral college actually matters, well, why not balance the system where, sure, if the Democrats lose the electoral college and they don't get the presidency, but still represent far more Americans, shouldn't they get something, some sort of Democratic consolation prize? I like that. We should think more about that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.